And little did I know that making such a silly public declaration that I may be making a massive faux pas and giving a sense of hope to people and their families and the wider local community that this is going to be a fantastic business year. And little did I know that we would have COVID, little did I know that we would be struck, dumbstruck really with the scale of the issue that international business would have. But through incredible collaboration between our UK office and the incredible team in India, we pivoted massively and became not only a sustainable packaging business, but we became one of the largest distributors and manufacturers of reusable face coverings, which were very unique at the time. People were not thinking about cotton and fabric as a face mask option. It was all about the single-use plastic mask, and we sort of rallied the retailers here, worked with our partners at the British Fashion Council, which we are incredibly proud of, and changed the behaviour, changed the psychology of what a face covering would be. Now it seems very normal that you wear a cloth face covering that I saw one of your technicians wear just now. But at the time, in March, April 2020, it was very, very new.
The pandemic was quite a serious affair because it can absolutely destroy a business. And at a time last, March 20, we thought, that's it, we're finished, because we are dependent on customers to have events. We are dependent on customers to have retail. We are dependent on customers to have activities, and all that completely stopped. It just completely froze in Europe first, and that was it. Nobody was working, the roads were empty. And when you have a business, and especially if you're a first generation business, it's the amount of cushion that you have is not as much as a 100-year-old business. So you really are dependent on cycling furiously, and it's important then. And one of the key words that I learned, although I knew the meaning otherwise, but pivoting is a very typical, an American word which you use very beautifully, and especially Dita uses it when she teaches management, which I think is a brilliant word. So to pivot a business, and especially a business, is like moving a super tanker. You're going along in a super tanker, and to move that takes a long, long time. But if you immediately take action, and this is where when we have a nosedive when you're flying, you can't just think, you just have to do certain things. You just have to make sure that you come out of the bloody nosedive, you're taught few things, you don't actually think, you've got to do it instantly. So when this pandemic hit, we knew we had to do something. And we had a chat with all our managers. We said, look, this is the truth. This is going to be really difficult. We don't know what's going to happen. And we didn't even know what was going to happen, how long this was happening. So one of our managers said, look, she's an Italian in a very typical jokesy Italian way. She said, why not make masks, And we said, what masks? We've never done masks in our lives. And she said, no, but, you should be able to do it. And suddenly we had a project, and within not days, but within hours, we were talking to our factory, we were finding out what we should do. And very soon we found that we don't have the machinery. We had to buy the machinery. Everything is closed. How do you buy the machinery? And so, as I said, luck plays a great role, because there was a huge consignment of Juki, which is a Japanese manufacturer, which was lying in the Chennai port. Nobody was willing to take it. So we said, we'll take it because we want to make face coverings. And they were so delighted to sell it at a discount. Nobody else was wanting to buy those machines. So as I said, there was a series of luck which has helped us also. But then we took that as we went along. So we pivoted, not just the product, the manufacturing, then the training. Then we found out we didn't have a single order. And for that, I think Smruti did a fabulous job she had all the big supermarkets in the country after her to supply the product. And that you can tell them what you did.
Yes, so it was through collaboration and partnership, and we wanted to support British designers who really were affected greatly through the pandemic, and supporting creative and fashion talent is very much in our DNA. And we phoned up our partners at the British Fashion Council, friends who may be in the audience today, who we are eternally grateful for, and said, look, can we raise money for charity through the sale of reusable face coverings with beautiful designer print that will reduce single-use plastic masks? And honestly, it took a lot of thinking as to what on earth I was saying, but it was myself and a wonderful senior member of the British Fashion Council team who became mini entrepreneurs, launched this business from our single desks in our room, in our bedrooms, and we just hustled. And we built up a pitch deck. We spoke to various designers, and we had Mulberry on board. We had Julia McDonald on board. We had Rixo. We had a couple of designers who said yes, and then they pulled out. And it was all very frantic. And then we got a foot in the door with Boots, the supermarket, which is part of the Walgreen Alliance. We sold to John Lewis, Waitrose, Sainsbury's, ASOS, Zalando, and then Amazon listed us as a shop. But this was all through a lot of hustling, a lot of hard work on weekends, on evenings. But we knew that it made sense. It's just that it took a while for others to cotton onto it.
But you see,
and when we launched, it just so happened that we launched. We kept delaying the launch for various different reasons, but it just so happened that we launched the morning after, the night before, where the night before the Prime Minister of the country said, we're now making it mandatory for the consumers to wear face masks in shops. And so we had at 9 a.m, the incredible press team at the British Fashion Council took our samples, put it on someone who had a national TV coverage, and it went bananas. Our face covering was the most coveted piece of fashion to buy, and it sold out within minutes. It crashed our servers, it crashed the British Fashion Council's website. We didn't really know what we were doing. From 1 minute we were a B2B business supplying supermarkets and retailers, and over a minute we then had to switch to being a B2C business, where our phone lines were getting directed to all of our mobile phones, and we didn't know how to deal with the public. It was just bananas. It was really quite an experience. But I think that, that it was a roller coaster story, which I think could be made into a movie, honestly. We have not even scratched the surface in terms of supply chain issues, understanding what the product is, how it can be made to fit various different faces and sizes of face, how to not misinform the public about the health issues associated with masks. There's all sorts of regulatory issues. And then 6 months down the line, we then became a consumer magazine's best buy, which again made the sales go through the roof. So
it's called Which is a very consumer magazine. But the other important thing, because as I said, the whole basis of a product is not just have a lot of hot air. During the design of this product, we had scientists. One from Switzerland, who was a scientist in this particular field. We had another person from Tokyo, because face coverings and masks are very much part of the DNA of Japanese people. So we had one person from Japan who was helping us design this, because how do you make a product which was not there before? So we had to virtually reinvent the wheel at that point in time. But then in doing so, not only were we making it a fun face covering which was design led, but also medically acceptable, because to sell to Walgreen or Boots, it's not possible until it is
ethically audited and product
was quality assured. from
But
a
anyway,
medical point of
that's
view.
the great British designer face coverings will be made into a book or movie, I'm sure, one day.